Howdy folks, welcome back. So to begin, I had to apologize for the delay of the second part as I am quite busy with a lot of things in the background, like school was ending, it's Christmas break, and I'm also a little sick right now. You can kind of hear it in my voice and I may cough occasionally, but I did took my meds just recently, so I'm gonna be fine for now. So either way, I'm back on Wattpad to read some more awesome sauce fanfic in the community can cook up, and I found a good one we're gonna be going over in just a minute. It's definitely better than the last fanfic we read, which is literally just a verbatim transcript of the first two episodes of the show with nothing unique added to it. So this was a little refreshing as I did read it prior, so we have an idea of what we're dealing with and figure out whether this is video worthy or not. And I concluded that it is because this is the craziest fanfic I've ever read currently, and we're just on the pad. We're not even in the other fanfic website where the Lighthouse revamp bullshit resides. So to begin, this is a crossover fanfiction titled Camp Lakebottom, Stampede of the Spooky Kind by Shallow Sacramento 21. Which is okay since I am literally making my own Camp Lakebottom X redacted story on the pad. So if I'm supposed to be fine with that, I should be fine with others, right? Anyways, what makes this particular piece of fanfic crazy compared to the previous one is that this thing not only has Camp Lakebottom, it also has Courage the Cowardly Dog, Gravity Falls, and goddamn SpongeBob SquarePants. You cannot make this shit up if you try. Before we go over each part of this masterpiece, I do want to say that do not harass the author of this, and the same goes to the previous author, alright? This is not this video's purpose, as we're only here to have fun and read, and hopefully it's just that. I may make fun of certain things when we get there, but it's all good fun and not malicious in any way. So with that, let's start off with the prologue. So to start off, we got Armand the Sasquatch going out for a little walk at night. He then hears a twig snap behind him and is startled. He's showing his flashlight in his direction while shouting, "Who's there?" He then fell over while walking backwards, and then he sees a giant sponge. And then this sponge thing revealed an eye that spooked Armand, and he ran away in terror. So overall, a pretty decent start to kick things off. Pretty similar to how the Lakebottom episodes usually start off before we get to McGee reading a letter. And that is included here, and it reads, "Dear Mom, staying at Camp Lakebottom was the best thing ever happened to me. But things are unexpectedly turned dark here. But we're fine as long as we're having fun. I hope the universe survives today, and I hope you're doing okay." It's a little longer compared to its usual length in the show, and it always contains some sort of pun in its punchline. So I'm a little disappointed that it lacked a pun. But other than that, it's a neat little detail added. Continuing. So little McGee over here apparently has something called a common mold. And at first I thought it was a typo for a common cold. But then it also states that he was restrained in his bed with a straitjacket like some mental patient in Arkham bullshit. And I was like, God damn man, cold got you acting like that? I could only imagine what others would do to you. And this McGee guy also apparently got it from a witch, as he calls it, an old hag. And the reason why they have my guy in a straitjacket is because this common mold thing is making him go crazy and shit. But fortunately, they did have medicine, which was Rosebud's gross-ass food in powder form. But this guy was so crazed out of his mind that he refuses to take it, and this part gets wild. So they got Squirt restraining him further in bed, while Gretchen tries her best to force the meds down his throat, but was shoved off. It pisses her off, cursed him, and proceeded to taunt her. And then she told Squirt to do her a favor and leave the room. He asked why, but was scared off by just her gaze alone. And I'm thinking that she's about to go ramble on this shit, and until it says, and I quote, McGee kept laughing, but he stopped when Gretchen sat over him. She pours the medicine on her mouth and adds some water. Like, hold your phone, my guy. It continues. Gretchen placed her hands on McGee's cheeks and shoved her mouth to his. McGee was surprised by this and started to turn red. McGee drank the medicine came from Gretchen's mouth. When she's done, she pulled away. He saw his friend, blushing, panting, and kinda sweaty. Like, oh my god, bro, what is this? Like, bro thought it was fun and wants to do it again. But he was still crazy, and Gretchen called him an idiot, just straight up karate chopped him in the head and knocked him out cold. He just fell asleep after that. So that was part 1, and I'm a little pumped for whatever that was. And I give this chapter a 7.8 out of 10. So we finally get to our first crossover setting, and as the title suggests, we're in Bikini Bottom. So this part begins with a nameless group of men throwing away an old statue right by Bikini Bottom, and by the next day, SpongeBob found the statue posted up in his front yard. He was surprised, and the statue is described as one-eyed, with a triangular body, and wearing a tie. I bet you can guess who that is supposed to be. Anyways, Squidward then saw the statue and mistook it as SpongeBob's creation. He was amazed by it. Side tangent, I never watched SpongeBob, so I don't know if Squidward is acting correct here, cause I'm pretty sure he wouldn't assume that SpongeBob made that thing. But then again, I never watched the show, so I shouldn't even be asking. Back in the story, both SpongeBob and Squidward argued on where the statue came from, and Patrick was there too. But it's not really adding much just yet. Squidward then said that this happened before, and then connected the dots back to the Flying Dutchman. He then started screaming his name, creepypasta style, to summon it, and he successfully did. The Squidman asked if the statue is his, to which Dutchman said no. Squidward told him he was bullshitting, and then this went on for quite a while, so I'll skip it. We then meet Sandy Cheeks, who was jogging nearby and tries to be the rational one in this situation, and as she was trying to figure it out, Mr. Krabs appeared out of nowhere and told SpongeBob he was late for work and yada yada, more uninteresting bullshit here until we get to the climax of this chapter. So SpongeBob gets close to the statue and starts leaning on it, proceeding to shake hands with the thing with a friendly demeanor until he feels electrocution and the statue glows with a bright light and shit is about to go down. Everyone else but him hides for safety and SpongeBob fucking blew up like a nuclear bomb underwater. I guess it's a little nod to a gag that the show does, I think. So pretty much SpongeBob was possessed by the spirit of Bill Cipher, which is a crazy ass sentence I thought I'd never say. But so far, the rest didn't know that yet, and Mr. Krabs approaches the former fry cook to check if he was okay. Then SpongeBob turns around looking all demonic and cursed and whatnot, and transforms into a triangle. He essentially became Bill Cipher. Triangle, one-eyed, top hat and all. And then, he draws some baller ass lines.
At last, I am free once again.
So then, chaos erupted afterwards. SpongeBob turns the crab guy into a statue as his replacement, and then Bill started taunting the original SpongeBob who's inside him or something. It's a little weird to say it like that, but either way, he did cause some chaos, toying Squidward for a little bit until the Flying Dutchman challenged Bill to a sword fight. He accepts and then fucking decapitates the guy. Not sure if he died or if he can die, but that's crazy. Bill then proclaimed he wanted to rule over Bikini Bottom until King Neptune comes out of a portal and was like, I smell bitch in here, and tried to kill Bill to save the day but was urged not to by Sandy because of SpongeBob's sake, and he reluctantly stopped. And then, Bill calls him a son of a bitch, and then he gets away from Bikini Bottom to a portal. And then other stuff happens, blah blah blah, but we're not finished yet as this part was surprisingly long. The Flying Dutchman was still alive and everyone went on a quest to stop Bill, and now Dutch is on their side to help. All were aboard his ship except for Neptune, and off they went to stop this Billman's reign of terror or something. Then as a closing statement, we get to Gravity Falls, where in the news where they were reporting an eye-shaped light formation in the deep sea, and Dipper was like, ah shit, here we go again, and the end. So this part was really extensive and quite exhausting to read, but it was rather good. We got to meet Bill, he possessed SpongeBob, and we got a decent transition from Bikini Bottom to Gravity Falls. Like I said, my only complaint is the length of the dialogues. This could just be a meeting, but overall, it's a 7 out of 10. Alright, so we're finally back at Camp Lakebottom, even though we just introduced Gravity Falls, but hey, we'll see. So we begin with the campers playing on Lake Icky Gloomy. Nothing unusual was happening just yet, and I guess McGee was cured of his mole disease as he's doing rather fine now. But anyways, an earthquake soon erupted and everyone got out of the lake and got to cover. Not much happened during and after the earthquake until we finally meet our third, or second, crossover. So the campers were back at the lake playing and doing their thing, even Gretchen throwing McGee in the lake and whatnot, and then a truck arrived with a family inside. A family with a dog. A cowardly dog. That is right. So the family from Kirsch, the cowardly dog, had arrived at Camp Lakebottom as revealed in a flashback. Used his badge, won a crossword puzzle in the newspaper and was expecting money, but instead got like a 1 week stay at like Camp Sunny Smiles, not Lakebottom. To which I asked, isn't it supposed to be a summer camp solely for kids? Maybe the price didn't specify or didn't care since they're old and just allowed it? But either way, they're here now. However, we then immediately cut back to Gravity Falls, but not at the Mystery Shack, I think, since Mabel was calling for her parents. And if I remember correctly, they weren't with them in the shack, but I could be wrong. So she's calling up for everyone at home, wondering where everyone is, screaming like a kid lost in a grocery store until she finally meets Dipper, who hasn't caught any sleep and is in a manic state. He's super hyper fixated on the fact that Bill has returned and is trying to figure out why he's back and all and that. She tried to argue with him that he's just paranoid and Bill's gone for a long time, so I guess this takes place after Weird Mageddon and Bill's death, hence the statue for part 2. So in this part of the chapter, it's all just the two fighting over whether Bill is back or not, and it's like a Reddit atheist arguing with a Christian online until it spills over to them physically fighting and even falling off the fucking stairs. Mabel was beginning to cry after Dipper revealed some deep revelations about her connections of accidentally summoning Bill in that one episode because she didn't want him to stay in the shack. You already know this if you watch the show, so I don't really have to go on a deep dive on about this whole dynamic thingy. She pushes Dipper into the floor and Dipper got up, grabbed the couch cushion, and knocked the fuck out of Mabel. A bit of an exaggeration, but he did hit her pretty hard as she was indeed knocked out. He laid her on the couch and just left her with a blanket. But don't worry, since Waddles was there to comfort her. So that's good. So like, goddamn bro, you're gonna do that to your own sister of all people? If you're gonna do that to your own sibling, I can only imagine how you treat a stranger. Like, jeez bro. I mean, I never had a sibling, so I don't know if this is normal. Like, I don't know if like beating yourself, like beating your meat considers as, I don't know, domestic abuse or something. Or like self-harm, whatever. I don't know, man. I'm an only child, so what do I know? So after that altercation, Dipper leaves the house and was then soon met by bullies and was chased, probably for beating his sister like that, but they chased for a while until they reached a convenience store and he saw a parked truck nearby. He hid inside the baggage and the unnamed bullies were unable to find him and then they left. Dipper thought he had a lucky break, but oh no! The truck soon started and drove off before he could even leave. It's not like he can even leave in the first place, like he was hiding in the baggage and was buried under more baggage, so he's trapped inside, R. Kelly song style. As the truck was driving, Muriel spotted something down the road and you would not believe what it was. Eustace stopped the truck and when Courage was sent out to investigate, he looked around and it was motherfucking Mabel Pines. Like how did she even get there? I thought we already established that she was knocked out like Rihanna while dating Chris Brown in 2009. Allegedly. Like, what is she doing in the middle of the road and why did nobody else try to stop her? Like, is this town they live in like a barren and desolate? I mean, the Badgers were here and they live in nowhere, so I guess it makes sense. Anyways, Courage gave her some water and she was feeling better after that. I just want to tell you that Courage speaks normally here. Like, yeah, I know he also speaks in the Camden show, but not that much. But who cares, it's fucking cartoons, it's not supposed to make that much sense. But what I will not accept is the fact that she just gets in their truck willy-nilly because she was looking for someone and something and got lost. Because yeah, that's exactly what I will do. Get into a stranger's vehicle while I was just incapacitated and weak. Whatever man. She told them that she was trying to get to Camp Sunny Smiles and luckily for her, that's where they were going to. And then Eustace said some boomer shit and just drove off. Oh, and I guess she was sitting in the back of the truck since it was explained that as she was leaning on the bag, she surprisingly met Dipper hiding inside the baggage and both screamed so loud that it almost crashed the truck. Eustace was justifiably pissed off as he almost crashed the truck with 5 occupants after they picked up a stranger, but Muriel diffused the situation and managed to make the two reconcile for a little while. The truck finally gets to their destination, but if you recall episode 1 of Camp Lakebottom, the sign leading to Camp Sunny Smiles was switched and Eustace unknowingly drove to Lakebottom instead. And I also want to remind you that this whole part, starting from the crosswords to them getting to the camp, all happened in the past. After this, we're now into the present, which will make things a little easier to follow. In the present, not much has happened. They, the counselors and newcomers, just greeted each other. Eustace wasn't particularly enthusiastic as it did not look like what the ad showed. But fear not, as we finally meet the man himself, Buttsquat. So Buttsquat arrived in the dirt bike and was like, Sunny Smiles ain't for old geezers, and McGee was like, leave them alone, asshole. They exchanged playground insults and McGee was also like, show some manners to our new campers. And then Dipper jumped in and called him a twat. Like literally, Jordan soon left and Deborah was all like, my time slipped. And they laughed. Then your standard everyone greets and shook hands montage here and there. Rosebud rings the bell, letting everyone know it's lunch, I assume. And everyone but the original bottom dwellers are excited. The end. So, a few things. Whoa. This one was a little better than part 2 as we did get a lot in a reasonably written way. I actually enjoyed reading it to tell you the truth. But a few problems here too, like Mabel just getting inside a stranger's vehicle, and then her just randomly being in the middle of the road unconscious prior to that, and then there aren't any parents to speak of, like why did you just leave home unannounced to go to an exclusive summer camp? And I also assumed that Mabel was originally trying to get there to find her brother, and then after she did, she still went there anyway with him. Like why? You didn't even pack some clothes or a toothbrush with you. And this one's a bit nitpicky, but how the heck did Eustace get to Camp Lakebottom as the bridge getting there was destroyed in the first episode? I guess it was repaired by Sawyer afterwards, like maybe? I don't know man, but I'll give this chapter an 8 out of 10. So, unfortunately, I had to cut this video into separate parts as I'll reiterate. This story is 12 parts long and I don't have the time and energy to write and edit a long video. So this will be part 1 and I hope you did enjoy this. If you want to watch part 2, then maybe consider subscribing with the bell notification turned on so you won't miss it. But hey, the choice is up to you. And for a few closing thoughts, I actually really liked and enjoyed this one. And if Shallow ever sees this video, first of all, what's up? And secondly, I hope you won't delete this. I actually think it's good and I can't wait to read part 4 again and give my thoughts on it. But anyways, that is all for part 1 and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.